This is the Cliff Yates Show. Personal growth, motivation, inspiration, and philosophies for a great life.
Hey everybody, this is the Cliff Yates Show, and you are, as always, in the right place. And I got a great guest for you today. I'm so excited to talk with him. I mean, talk about a thrill seeker, high achiever. This guy is just amazing. So I can't wait to hear what he has to share with us. I mean, the guy, 300 plus skydives, 24 times Ironman triathlete. He's a best-selling author, the smartest person in the room, and he had some adversity in 2022. We're going to ask him about the accident that he was in, and let's get right to it, because he's a man after my own heart, and I think I'm going to learn a lot today from him. Mr. Christian Espinosa, thanks for joining me, my brother.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Cliff.
Yeah, so amazing. So you're a lot like me. This is what I heard you say this on another podcast. I can't be a watcher, right? I got to be a doer. So if I'm at a Broadway show and I can't enjoy watching, I think, oh, I should be up there doing that. Do you have the same mindset?
Yeah, I don't like to spectate. I like to participate. Exactly.
I'm with you. Yeah, I want to be the doer, right? I heard you say that. Yeah. And so, have you always been that way? I know you had a cybersecurity business you sold, and you've been quite the entrepreneur.
Yeah, I feel like there's only so much time we have on the planet, so I try to make the most of it. I'm building my second cybersecurity business. I sold my first one, made a lot of mistakes, and try not to repeat those mistakes in this one. Yeah,
right. Wow. And now you had a bad car accident, right, in 2022?
Yeah, I wasn't directly involved in the accident. I was at an intersection with my girlfriend, and a car ran the red light and at the intersection and T-boned like a truck. It was like a pretty high-speed accident.
Yeah.
And my girlfriend is a nurse. The truck got pushed back and almost hit me, but I backed up a little bit, so it didn't hit my car too hard. My girlfriend's a nurse, and I'm sort of trained in these scenarios. So we got out and helped. I asked if the guy in the truck was okay, and my girlfriend caught the woman that got out of her car for some reason because she was in shock before she passed out and hit the ground in the middle of the intersection. And then only one other person actually helped, and I asked her to call 911. Nobody else helped at the intersection. Everyone else just sat in the cars. And it's kind of interesting that in a time of crisis, very few people actually came to help, and the intersection was full of cars, and that accident was the impetus for what made me decide on what to write my last book on, because it was a pretty major event. But in that major event, the woman that got out of the car, all she cared about was talking to her husband, and she gave me her husband's number, and I called it on my phone and talked to her husband for a little bit, then gave her the phone. But that was literally all she cared about. So I thought, in life, we have these major moments, and sometimes all the distractions and stuff that doesn't matter goes away, and what really matters is the people we care about. And that was highlighted by that woman wanting to only talk to her husband and explain that she was okay.
That's so great that you could have, what can I do right now in this moment? And so it seems like that's your mindset. What can I do to have a positive impact on exactly what's happening? And as your personality is, you jumped right out and got right into what was happening and to do what you wanted to do. Now, where did you grow up as a child?
I was born in California and was in California until I was 12. In Riverside. It's kind of a suburb of LA. And then for some reason, my mother and my stepfather decided to move to Arkansas when I was 12. So I went from a major city to a small town of 800 people in Arkansas. And that was quite the culture shock.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I was the city slicker, in Arkansas. And I spoke 4 times faster than everybody in Arkansas. To have a Southern accent. But I developed a Southern accent, and it took me a while to get rid of it.
Who is your influence as far as how did you get into this? Where you're doing all these sky jumping and And I love that one you said on another podcast that when there's a waiver that says I might die doing this, you want to do it. I mean, how did you get into that kind of mindset?
I think I've always been an adventure seeker. In California, I did BMX bikes and
Oh, okay.
just always liked to do things that were kind of thrilling. And I'm still that way. I'm doing this F4 class in Austin where you drive an F4 car, and I didn't realize, but it culminates in a race, and you can wreck because there's other people you're racing on the track.
Yeah.
But there's a waiver involved. I had to sign the waiver. Yeah, I'm kind of attracted to anything that has a waiver where it means I could lose my arm or possibly die. For some reason, those activities are very compelling to me.
That's crazy. I mean, so F4, is that like a Formula car, like Formula One, or is that in that kind of family? Or?
Yeah, it's an open cockpit car, like a Formula One car, but it's F4, not as fast as Formula One cars. Those are super expensive.
Yeah.
But yeah, your helmet, you're exposed to the air, and you just got like a little roll cage behind you, and the open wheels and everything. So it should be interesting. I've been going to the go-kart track to try to improve my skills because they translate a little bit, but not as much as actually driving the car.
Yeah. Have you watched that documentary on Senna at all?
I have not watched the documentary on Senna. I heard it's pretty good though.
Yeah, you know who he is, right? He's one of the most famous Brazilian.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he would do that. He would like race on go-kart tracks, and they showed him like starting at the back of a go-kart race and just how he made it to the front easily. Just crazy good stuff. But yeah, the documentary is. I follow a guy, his podcast, and he mentioned that he had watched this documentary like 20, 30 times. So I said, I got to watch it. So it is pretty inspiring, and you'll probably like it because being in these F4s, I think it'll be very inspiring. But that's amazing. I'm not such a thrill seeker as far as danger, but I always felt a calling to want to do other things, and it's kind of hard. I went from a small town to the city, and I was an LA County deputy sheriff. So I lived in Laverne, California, which is not too far from Riverside, about 25 minutes. So
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about. And so, what was your first jobs? What did you first do as a career?
Well, I don't know if it was a career, but in high school, I worked at a chicken plant. I was an eviscerator. I pulled fat out of chickens' butts.
Wow!
They went on the conveyor. They went on the conveyor belt in the conveyor belt in the freezer. So I did that for a while, and then I joined the military. So I went to Air Force Academy, and I was in the military doing communications for about 6 years, and then I kind of stuck with communications, so cybersecurity, information insurance, and that's what I do now with my second business I started.
Oh, thanks for your service, and that is great. So man, cybersecurity is like amazing to what's happening. When I delve into it a little bit, it's just you almost don't want to know, right? We're so vulnerable, and we're attacked every day, and people don't even know it, right?
Yeah, we're constantly under attack. And my company, Blue Goat Cyber, we focus on medical device cybersecurity. That's our niche.
Yeah.
So this could be an implantable, it could be a surgical robot, a drug infusion pump, an in vitro diagnostics system. But that's what we focus on because for me, the impact is much greater if somebody hacks into your implantable and can kill you, obviously.
Yes.
Stealing your credit card information.
Oh my
God,
that's
I want to do my part to help make sure those things are secure. Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense. So like an implantable, everybody has like my buddy has an implantable, he has a pacemaker, right? That, he can, with his phone or his doctor can log into it, right? And check what's happening. So someone, if there wasn't proper security, could actually log in, get into that and mess it up, right?
Yeah, there was a Homeland episode about that, and it was a viable threat. And actually, Dick Cheney, back in the day, had his pacemaker, the wireless function disabled because there was a scenario where somebody could hack into wirelessly your pacemaker from a distance and cause it to shock you over and over and over and kill you.
Oh my!
So that's
God.
what my company does, is try to make sure these things are secure, so people can't, attackers can't do this stuff and either inadvertently, like this malicious software just spreading, or someone with intentionally trying to hack into your device. or compromise it.
Wow. I imagine that's a pretty niche field, though, of cybersecurity, right? There's not a lot of companies doing that, or am I wrong?
Yeah, there's not too many, and that's why I'm focused on it. It's more of a blue ocean strategy, as they say. There's not a lot
Yeah.
of competition because it's very niche. It's very different. It's very uh, there's just a lot of things you have to learn. You have to know about the medical technology. You have to know about the FDA rules, the EU MDR, which is the European equivalent of the FDA, and all the things they're looking for, and all that vernacular. And it's very niche, but it's to me, it's a much better strategy because my first cybersecurity company, I tried to sell everything cybersecurity, and my message was diluted, so I didn't do as well. I feel like right now our message
Ah,
is very specific, our audience is very specific, and we know exactly the pain points we're trying to solve for our clients.
yeah, that would make sense, especially for these companies that are selling these implants to medical facilities that they can have a guarantee of how secure they are, and so I'm sure that's very valuable. That something you're bringing to the marketplace. Have you always? I see you're in good shape and you do a lot of physical things. Have you always been into fitness, or when did you start being into physical things?
Yeah, I've always been into fitness. In high school, I played football and ran track and did basketball as well. And then I blew out my knee my last game of my senior year, so I tore all the ligaments of my knee
Oh my God.
and had to have a screw put in to reattach my MCL. So after that, I decided not to play football in college. I didn't want to like permanently
Yeah.
mess up my knee, but
Yeah.
I still, have been athletic pretty much most of my life. I've tried to do something athletic. Now I'm not really training for an Ironman. I go karting and shooting, a
Yeah.
little bit change in things, but I mean there's still an athletic component to both those, obviously. And I go running
Yeah.
every now and then, but I'm not really full on training for an Ironman or anything right now.
Yeah. What are you shooting? What kind of shooting do you do?
I'm trying to get my girlfriend comfortable with concealed carry. We both have our
Yeah.
concealed carry, and we did I took her to a class. We did a class, so we have a couple SIGs, an M18 and a 365, and she has a Ruger LCP, which is super small, and we're gonna get a SIG 365, a different one. I have the X Macro, a little
Oh,
smaller one for her to carry. Yeah,
I have the P365. Yeah.
yeah, that's I thought I
Is
saw
that,
it back
is
there.
that,
Yeah,
yeah. To tell you the truth,
yeah, that's
yeah, Christian. So
That's
when
the
I
one we want to
retire,
get. I want to get her the 36, the smallest 365. When I have the macro, which is a little bit bigger, obviously, with
yeah,
the compensator, but I want to get her the smaller one. Yeah,
I
that's the next
forget that
goal I'm
I
getting.
forget that I have it on, and so yeah, when I retired in 2013 from LA Sheriff's, I didn't even want to carry a gun anymore because I didn't want to keep track of it. You leave it in valet or something, so I didn't feel the need for it. And then we moved to Florida, and then I got involved in a church, and they wanted me to join the safety team. And then,
Hmm.
as the opposite of California, they were like, I said, well, I'll do an unarmed position. They go, oh, no, we encourage you to carry. And I go, oh, well, okay. And so they encourage it. So I went to that P365, and I love it because I had carried a full-size Beretta on duty. And so this little paperweight, but packs a wallop 9mm is crazy good. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, yeah, um, yeah. The macro I have holds a 17,
Oh,
mag.
my
I
God,
think
that's
that one
great.
has a 12, right?
Yeah,
12. Is
yeah,
that what you got?
yeah,
Yeah, that's a perfect. Yeah, that's the one I'm
yeah,
getting for my girlfriend. Yeah.
yeah, that's perfect.
But
Oh, my
they make
God.
these cool purses where you can carry it in a purse. There's a
That's
specific
good.
pocket too. So,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, and I'll tell you that, Christian, I mean, so I went from that mindset of, hey, I'm out of police work now. I don't even want to be carrying. And now the way things are today, I'm starting to carry all the time when I can because, man, you can't wait for the police to come. And here I was a cop for 35 years, and you got to really take
Yeah.
your own protection in charge of it, man.
Yeah,
I,
it's just you hope you never have to use it, but it's
yeah,
like anything in life. It's best to be prepared.
yeah,
Even with
well,
like self defense. I
yeah,
trying to get my girlfriend in a Krav Maga class just so she's prepared for anything.
yeah,
I think if you're caught off guard, that's the worst scenario. So you want to have some training.
yeah.
in anything in life, not just like
Yeah.
self-defense or guns, but pretty much anything.
Yeah, and even I'll tell you, we were talking to a fellow retired officer about self-awareness and street survival tactics and how you can use these tactics in everyday life. When you pull up to a store, before you go in, you can just go without even thinking about it. You can glance to the front, is everything as normal as it should be, or what's going on here? And when you walk into a place and shopping, you can, where are the exits here? If something happens, there's the back door.
Mm-hmm.
And so these are things that you could do just to be self-aware. And it'll help you in a survival situation if something happens with an active shooter, which, there's a chance in any public place now that could actually happen. What state are you in?
Arizona.
Oh, you're in Arizona. Oh my God, I love Arizona. It's got such great diversity in temperatures, man. It could be hot down in Phoenix, and then Scottsdale can be snowing. It's crazy. I mean, it's awesome. Arizona's a great state.
Yeah, I've been here like a year and a half, and it's definitely hot in the valley, as they say.
The valley,
which is
that's
Phoenix
right.
area.
Yeah,
That's where I am in Tempe.
yeah.
But I could easily drive to Flagstaff, and it could be like 50 degrees different, like in the mountains,
Yeah, I used to do, when I did stand-up comedy. I had one stop that was in Laughlin, and then we had to drive 5 hours to Flagstaff. It was like the Honda Resort. It's a ski resort, Indian resort. And I thought, man, God, I just left Laughlin. It was 60 degrees, and now it's snowing. I got caught in snow, and I go, I didn't picture this in Arizona, but yeah, that's way up high off the 40. I think off the 40. Yeah. Crazy. That's good. So what's on your next adventure? What are you doing next?
The next adventure is getting ready for that F4 class. I watched a couple of videos and I realized, I could possibly die in it, so I want to make sure I'm ready. And then before that, going to Vegas next week. I'm gonna do some karting at a track there and drive some.
Great.
Drive some. I don't gamble, but I do like adventure stuff. Drive some Baja trucks where you can jump like 10 feet in the air on these trucks around this dirt track. So that's the next exciting thing I'm doing.
Yeah.
Again, there's a waiver involved with all that, of course.
Of course, that's what's going to attract you. Hey, tell me about your. I bought your book, but I haven't started it yet. The Smartest Person in the Room. Tell us what the message is there.
The Smartest Person in the Room is about emotional intelligence for high IQ individuals. In my first cybersecurity business, I realized 99% of the problems I had in my company were because my staff, they were all super rationally intelligent, super high IQ, but they did not have enough emotional intelligence. So the book is about my journey to help add that emotional intelligence to already high IQ individuals. And in my career field, which is super technical, I think it's a pandemic, as we say.
Yeah, you're
where
right.
We have all these really smart people that can't communicate and just are looking for ways to prove they're smarter than somebody else, like talk over their head.
Yes.
Tell someone they don't know what they're talking about. And this, I feel, is why we're losing the cybersecurity war. We have a lot of issues with communication and, ego, really.
Yeah. I forgot. I was studying that myself. I think they call it EQ or something, but it's so important. Yeah. And to create, I was listening to John Gordon, who was he's in with Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi, and he was talking about creating a culture of positivity and really connecting with your fellow people that you're working with, right? So that's so important, especially, and I can see where, people who are analytical or they're in like your field, right? So there'll be maybe a lack of connecting or wanting to connect. Is that the problem?
I think the problem is everybody wants to feel significant.
Yes.
They want to be significant about something. Yeah. And that can come from a number of areas, right? And in my career field, people feel significant because they're smarter, quote, smarter than other people.
Right, yeah.
And they're smarter in one part of their life, like this technical aspect. And when your ego, is trying to protect itself, it's going to look for opportunities to prove that you're smarter than other people, which is the challenge. So it's about some of that awareness we've been talking about. It's more self-awareness and realizing, this is what's holding me back under this glass ceiling. This is why I'm not getting promoted. This is why my career is stalled. and this person that doesn't know as much as me technically is getting promoted above me because they have the emotional intelligence.
Yes.
They may not be as smart as me technically, but people prefer to be around them because people want to be around other people that make them feel appreciated and understood, not people that make you feel stupid, or try to make you feel
Yes.
stupid.
That has been my message for years. I remember talking to a detective in the sheriff's department, and he had 2 master's degrees, and he was a detective, and he was lamenting, about people getting picked for certain jobs that he didn't get picked for, although he was twice as smart. And then, I had told him that I was at a substation. I said, well, I just left the station. I talked to the captain for about half hour about his golf game or whatever. He goes, I've been here 4 years. I never even talked to the captain. I go, this is the problem. You got to develop relationships with these people. It's not kissing ass. It's developing rapport with the people who can do things for you. You have to be liked, right, Christian?
Yes. And, it's interesting when I write a book, I've written a few.
Yeah.
It's a transformational journey. And when I wrote The Smartest Person in the Room, I realized in the past, I was the person I was writing about in the book. I was the person that wanted to be smarter than everyone else and looking for the opportunities. I was a person, like you mentioned, that didn't want to, build rapport with anybody. I thought I should just get promoted based on my merit. It doesn't matter if anyone likes me,
Yeah.
And it held me under glass ceiling too. So I had to make that shift myself and transform. And yeah, I think a book should be transformational to the author as well as anybody that reads it as well.
Man. That's why I like sharing all these concepts and philosophies, because you can't help anybody else without helping yourself. So I get to hear these things over and over again. It's funny, and you probably remember Daryl Gates was kind of a famous police chief in L.A., and I heard him speak once, and I forgot who took over for him. But he said, oh, that guy, he was a much better chief than I was. But they didn't like him, and you got to be liked, or they're not going to follow you. So yeah, he knew that concept so well. Yeah, that really, relationships is so important, man, in everything that you do. And it doesn't matter the occupation, right? Oh my God, that's so good. Yeah. So where can they get your book?
Well,
Is it on Amazon?
Yeah, my books are on Amazon and
Okay.
on Audible, so you can listen to them on Audible as well. Yeah.
I interrupted you. I had a thought there.
Oh, I was just saying, ultimately, life is about relationships. I've
Yes.
done a lot of things in my life. I had a lot of achievements, and sometimes, and I wrote about this in my second book, I was so focused on accomplishing something that I just kind of blocked out everything along the way.
Yes.
And I accomplished it, and I was there at the end by myself.
Yeah.
Okay, now what? There's nobody to celebrate with. I've done this thing. I destroyed some relationships in the process.
Yeah.
I didn't do well, balancing things. So I'm trying to get better at that now.
Yeah, man. So have you learned how to do that better? Is that kind of taking in the moment as you're going, or how you can help somebody else along the way, or do you do that every day? Or?
Yeah, I have much more awareness. I do more reflection, pretty much on a daily basis, and I try to learn from my mistakes. And like I said, writing a book, my second book, The In Between, was transformational as well. It really forced me to examine my life and look at where I got things right and where I got them wrong from a perspective of, too hyper focused on a macro level goal, where I just, like I said, had blinders on and ignored the relationship right in front of me, which fell apart because I didn't pay attention to it. So now I'm not saying you don't go after those big goals, but you have to have a little bit of balance along the way. And then often if you pay attention to what's right in front of you, you might realize this goal you're going after isn't really what you want to go after anymore.
Yeah.
It could change, right? But if you're focused on it, then you may not even realize, you don't even want to go after anymore. It's like this obsession. At least it is for me. It used to be. I'm still that way a little bit, but I've got more awareness and, like I said, try to balance things.
Man, you said a lot of good things there. What was the impetus for the In Between title? What is that book about?
It's about that macro level goal. And between that goal and where I am, there's all these micro moments.
Yes.
I call them. They're micro moments. And it's about having some awareness of those moments and showing up with intention. So you can influence those moments in a positive way and not miss out on those things, which are important. It's about removing those blinders and not just going after that macro goal. And that car accident we talked about is sort of solidified the concept for me in that book.
Yeah.
Because that woman, all she cared about in that small moment was talking to her husband and telling her husband she was okay. That's literally all she cared about. It wasn't anything else. And I thought, man, this is when it all boils down to it, this is what matters. That relationship, like we talked about, it wasn't like anything else. It was just that
Yeah.
relationship and letting the person she loved know that she was okay. And know what happened. And yeah, that was the moment that made me realize this is the book I need to write about this topic.
Yeah, you're right about that. Yeah, and it's so true to just, and I always metaphorically talk about, I like the metaphor of like a sailboat, right? You just, pick a destination, even if you're not sure, get the boat out of the harbor and start heading in that direction. However, along the way, you may change your destination. You may decide to go somewhere else, but you got to get moving and, and enjoy the process. Even if that end goal that you initially pick, it gets you going in a direction, and you may change your destination, but you got moving, and what you become in trying to get there is going to be the most important thing, not in the getting to the location. And I think that's kind of what your message was there. That's so great, man. I try to do that too every single day. Try to be like you were in that situation. How can I serve you? How can I be of service to you, man? Because that gives me great joy to do that. If I say, Christian, how can I serve you? How can I point people to your books? Where can they find you? How can I serve you in this interview? I think that's so important to do on a daily basis.
Yeah, and that car accident was transformational, but it's also a little bit disturbing to me. The fact that only, my girlfriend and I and one other person got out to help. Everyone else just sat in their car, filming on their cell phones or acting frustrated at the intersection. And I was thinking, man, if I'm in an accident and I need help, I would hope a fellow human being would come help me. But after witnessing that, I thought, man, like most people, it seems like they're so self-absorbed with their own life, they don't even want to help. I don't know. Maybe the world is shifting to where more people will want to help in that situation. But I don't know. It was a little bit. Like I said, I felt like helping was important, but I also realized not anybody else was like getting out of the car to even offer any assistance, which I thought was kind of bizarre.
Yeah, you kind of have to. You got to kind of know that, and you got to, like, for yourself say, no, I'm going to, take action here. I'm going to do that, and and don't expect anybody else to do the same. I've wrestled that in police work, right? You don't know everybody's in uniform; they're all cops, fellow cops, but really, until something really emergent or life-threatening happens, they're not really tested, and that's when, you really find out who's committed. They're going to stand with you, right? They're going to be, everybody else is gone, and here's three of you waiting, to take action here. But that's kind of, human nature, and you have to kind of accept that and decide which side of the fence you're going to be on. So I think that was a kind of a good reveal that you saw there, because that would probably be repeated over and over again in different situations. Unfortunately.
Yeah. I think so. And I'm always the person that, I want to help. I want to serve where I can. And I want to be prepared too. I've been to first aid training and all these scenarios. So I can help. Maybe that's what holds other people back, the lack of training or awareness. But I think it's more than just that.
Yeah, I think it is a more to that. A lot of people freeze up in an emergent situation like that, especially an accident happens. They really freeze. And I've seen it even in police officers do it sometimes. In a shooting, they'll freeze, and you never know. Mm-hmm. Like I said, until that high stress, and I think that's why a lot of cops get really bonded, because they've gone through a high stress situation together. And they've seen how that other person has acted or reacted, or not reacted, and it builds a bond. So that's very important. Well, man, you've done a lot of great things, Christian. You're still doing it. Where can people find you or your books are on Amazon? Are they on Audible? Are they on paperback and all of the platforms?
Yeah, my books are on Audible, and they're paperback as well, and hardcover. They can find me on my website. My personal website is christianespinosa.com. My cybersecurity company is bluegoatcyber.com. And again, we do medical device cybersecurity. And I'm on LinkedIn and Twitter and Instagram and most of the social media platforms.
That is great. So I'm going to put all those links in the podcast show notes, and I'll put it in the description of the YouTube channel because we put this up on YouTube. So ChristianEspinosa.com, and is it Blue Goat Cyber? Is that what's the company name again, and where they can find that?
Yeah, blue, like the color blue, goat,
Yep.
cyber.com. Yes.
BlueGoatCyber.com. Go there, hire Christian because he's an expert in the field, and be careful. He might invite you to go skydiving or something pretty dangerous, but.
Could happen, yeah.
Oh, man, I love your energy. I love the positivity and that you're a thrill seeker. This is great, Christian. I want to thank you for spending time with me today. And any final thoughts or words you'd like to share?
I think what you said about taking that boat out of the harbor or the slip is extremely important. Like picking a direction and
Yes.
knowing it's okay to change the direction, but that journey is what's going to help you grow. A lot of people are afraid to take the boat out of the harbor or out of the slip, and they just become stagnant. So just pick a direction, and then you'll grow and learn along the way. I mean, I think that's extremely important.
Yeah, you're so right, man. Well, I'm going to follow you. I'm going to keep an eye on you and what you're doing because you're into a lot of exciting stuff. So, and hang around for a little debriefing. And you know now where to find Christian. Check him out. You too. Maybe you're a thrill seeker like him. And we're going to follow his F4 career. And you know what to do. Listen, subscribe to the channel if you're watching and or listening on YouTube. And if you're listening on one of the podcast platforms, subscribe to the channel. It tells the computer, Christian, that people are interacting with the show. And you know what happens. They'll show it to more people. So I'll see everybody on the next episode. Christian, you are awesome. Hang around for a little bit, my brother.